The Illuminate are here, and that means an entirely new faction to analyze and learn as we look for weak points and vulnerabilities. Helldivers are also dealing with the new city biomes and equipment, so right now we are on a steep learning curve, finding out what works and what doesn't versus this new faction. Welcome to the channel. This is LtBuzzLitebeer, and I set to work finding 21 items you should know about with the Omens of Tyranny expansion and, of course, the Illuminate. Now, some of these are in the game and known, others are not, but these are things every Helldiver should know about. In case you haven't done so already, please take a moment to hit subscribe, as it's free and it really helps out the channel get noticed and promoted by YouTube. And while you're at it, likes, shares, and comments are also greatly appreciated. Make sure to ring that notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. And here we go with 21 items to know about with Omens of Tyranny. Item number 1 is the Peak Physique armor passive, which received a melee percentage buff with Omens of Tyranny, originally from 50%, now buffed up to 100%. Now, there are 3 armors currently available in the game with this passive: the lightweight Predator, the medium Jaguar, and the heavy Twig Snapper variants. The Predator and Twig Snapper armors were part of the older Viper Commandos Warbond, while the medium Jaguar armor only appears in the Superstore rotation. Now, you may want to experiment with melee builds with the new expansion because we are in city biomes and constantly engaged in close quarters combat. And the melee buff will not only affect your overall melee damage, but it will also include things like those throwing knives. Item number 2 is the first of the new Illuminate enemy types, known as the Voteless.
Those changed by the Illuminate have lost something deeper than their humanity. Their very citizenship has been consumed, condemning them to a fate worse than death. They are voteless.
The Voteless were citizens of Super Earth who were abducted from their homes and twisted into the creatures you now see. Voteless can appear in singles, but usually prefer to attack in mobs and serve as meat shields for the Illuminate. Now, they are easily killed, but can inflict heavy melee damage and will crush even battle-hardened Helldivers if they're able to surround you. Item number 3 are the walls surrounding these new city biomes, and these cannot be broken by grenades or even heavy weapons like an EAT. However, on the lightweight barriers, you can use explosives to clear the way, like when you're being chased and you're running down an alleyway that is blocked. Back to the Voteless for the number 4 item, and there are actually 2 types of Voteless you will encounter. Now, the first are the bigger and slower variants, and you can easily identify them because they also have a third eye. The more deadly versions are the thinner, much faster Voteless who have only 2 eyes, and they also have a special leaping fist attack akin to something you would see in MMA. Item number 5 is the new FRV, or Fast Recon Vehicle, you can find littered around the city biomes. It holds all 4 squad members, including a driver, 2 passengers, and a gunner on the back who has the use of a mounted heavy machine gun. It's also able to run over Illuminate enemies and kill them, but if you're a passenger, you're not completely out of the fight, because if you press and hold the ADS button, your diver will step out of the vehicle and stand on the side rails while it's moving, where you can fire your weapon, but it also exposes you to even more incoming damage. Item number 6 are the 2 new melee weapons ushered in with Omens of Tyranny. Now, the first is the Stun Lance, which is currently part of the Warbond, but there's also a Stun Baton you can purchase with super credits as part of the Superstore for the next few days. So, it gives you the option to either stab with the lance or to swing the baton while you're going toe-to-toe with the Illuminate. For number 7, let's stick with those 2 new melee weapons, and in general, I found them wonky and difficult to keep on target for precise attacks, especially versus the faster Voteless, who jump at you. Now, instead, I found that holding ADS and going into aim down sights mode gave me a much tighter perspective, and I was instantly able to be much more precise with my melee attacks. Item number 8 is going to round out my coverage of the Voteless, and it's important to know that sometimes they will not outright die, instead collapsing to the ground and crawling for a short period of time. Now, while in this downed state, they can crawl up next to you and will inflict melee damage on you until they eventually die. if you're taking damage and you don't know where from, you might have a Voteless Crawler biting at your ankles. It's important to note that Illuminate specialize in arc-based attacks, and item number 9 is to plan ahead and to make use of armors with the Electrical Conduit passive for 95% resistance to arc damage. Watchers and Harvesters both have uber-strong arc attacks, as well as Illuminate Tesla towers scattered around ship POIs. These armor types were found when the Cutting Edge Warbond first released. Number 10 are the Illuminate Watchers, the Flying Scouts. Now, they are easily shot out of the sky, but if they're allowed to detect you, they can fire a flare into the air, calling for Illuminate dropships and reinforcements. If you get too close to them, they will also initiate a very strong arc blast, which can instantly kill you unless you are using Electrical Conduit armor, which will mitigate nearly all the incoming damage, but be careful because you will still be stunned and move quite slowly. Let's touch on the Cognitive Disruptor Illuminate points of interest for item number 11, and these serve as stratagem scramblers versus the Helldivers. And notice I did not say jammers. These are scramblers. Now you will be able to find these and recognize them as these huge glowing towers, and you'll also see your stratagem sequences go haywire when you get in range. The way to destroy these is not through a terminal, but instead you need to search at the base of the tower and find 4 electrical circuits attached to power generators. And they look like this. Just shoot all 4 and the tower will power down, and you'll be able to use your stratagems without the added Scrambler effects. For number 12, let's build on those Cognitive Disruptor Scrambler effects, and when you're under those effects, you'll be able to recognize your stratagem icons, but the key and sequences will reset to a new sequence every few seconds. Sometimes it's going to be much shorter or longer, and it sort of acts like the stratagem hero game, but planet-side. Now the point is, you can still call in your stratagems while under these effects. It's just going to require you to really pay attention and type in quickly. Next up are the first of the 2 Overseer enemy types you're going to find, and item number 13 are the Grunts carrying the staffs that can also fire devastating blasts at range. Overseers are fast and have insane swing range, as well as crushing melee hits that can knock you on your butt and stun you. Overseers have light armor sort of covered in a medium protective coating, and if you fire light armor pen weapons at them, you will sometimes see the white X indicating only partially effective hits. However, if you just keep shooting them, they will eventually die. Overseers are tough, effective enough at range, devastating in close, and are quite durable. Arc weapons are very effective at stunning them, as are the new Stun Lance and Baton. Maybe you just have to absolutely get through one of those city walls to get to a point of interest on the other side. And item number 14 is the fact that certain eagles will and will not drop those city walls. Cluster bombs and strafing runs will not, while those that have a strong initial explosion, like Eagle airstrikes and Eagle napalm strikes, will open up portions of those walls. And of course the 500, well, it does what it does best. If you're looking for effective weaponry versus the Illuminate, your number 15 item is basically anything arc-based. The Illuminate struggle versus arc damage. It both stun locks them and inflicts lots of damage on most of their frontline units. As an example, using the Arc 12 Blitzer shotgun and Arc Thrower is a deadly 1-2 combo. Just watch out for your fellow divers. The number 16 item is the second of the Overseers, known as Elevated Overseers, who can stay permanently in the air through the use of a jump pack. They have a deadly multi-shot cannon that they can fire at range, and they also have the ability to spam grenades on your position. I found that not standing still and running at angles kept me mostly free of their multi-shot damage barrages, and the same armor principle applies here as it did to that standard Grunt Overseer variant we covered earlier. The Elevated Overseers also have this strafe ability that can sometimes allow them to avoid your shots. 5 items to go, and hopefully you're finding some things in here that are proving useful. Anyways, sticking with the Overseers, and I tested the Ballistic Shield versus the standard staff-wielding types, and the shield sadly does not protect you from their vicious melee swings. Now luckily these enemies are not very accurate with their staff shots, but when they did hit the shield, you still end up taking minor damage. And overall, I would not recommend you using the Ballistic Shield versus the Illuminate. The final Illuminate enemy is the Harvester, and the number 18 item are these three-legged walkers who are both deadly and have energy shields. Now you can either shoot the shield to get to the Harvester, but it will regen the shield in a short time unless you can kill it while it is without, or the more gutsy approach is to run into the shield and attack the Harvester from underneath, but it does have a deadly arc attack. It can shoot down at you to keep it away from its feet. Electrical conduit armor is very effective versus this arc attack, but will do next to nothing when the Harvester fires the energy beam from its eye, which will both cook you and catch you on fire. Something like the HMG is very effective at dealing with Harvesters because it quickly downs their shields, and if you can hit the Harvester in the eye, its weak point, you can also down them really fast. As a bonus item, and a little more advanced when it comes down to Harvesters, you can down their shields by shooting them, and then, if you have something powerful, like in my case, an anti-material rifle, you then target the vertical horns around its eye in the 12 and 6 o'clock positions. Now, if you can destroy those, the Harvester will not be able to raise its shields again, making it a sitting duck. Number 19 are the arc towers the Illuminate uses perimeter defenses around their ship points of interest. Now these ships act much like the automaton fabricators, and if you don't destroy them, they will continually spawn in more and more Voteless. Now the best way to handle these arc towers is to, of course, wear arc armor, or you can just toss in a grenade at the base of the tower, or even drop in an airstrike to take them out. But if all else fails and you have nothing else available, you can also go prone and crawl in next to the ships, because the same trick that works for divers around Tesla towers works against the Illuminate arc towers. MECHs are next, and the number 20 item is that the Emancipator and Patriot exosuits both excel and have weak areas versus the Illuminate. Now in general, I found the Patriot rips up the Harvesters as long as you can wait for them to kind of wiggle around after hitting them with a rocket. The Emancipator does well enough, but not as effective as the Patriot when it comes down to taking on the Harvesters, and both rip through Illuminate ground troops, where you can even wade into swarms of Voteless and melee them into dust. The final item, number 21, has to do with the Illuminate shielded ships they use as fabricators and how best to down those shields. After that, you can easily toss a grenade into the hatch on either side to destroy them, but certain weapons down the shields faster, slower, and not at all. For the not at all, plasma weapons should be avoided. I tried the Punisher Plasma and ran it dry trying to down the shields, while things like the laser pistol, AMR, and incendiary breaker were all very effective. Basically, laser and ballistic weapons should be your go-to when it comes to getting rid of those shields. Or again, the 500 kilogram multi-tool solves all problems, big or small. Hopefully you found some of these items useful, and it took a while to test and record, but I had a blast while doing it. Make sure to leave me a comment with any tips you've discovered, because when you post, the entire Helldiver community wins. Remember to hit subscribe and ring that notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. All my socials, including links to all of today's sources, can be found in the video description. We are well on our way to 249,000 channel subscribers, with our end goal, hopefully by the end of the year, sitting at 250K. In case you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe. Again, it's free. It really helps out the channel, and we'd love to have you along for the ride as we make that push up to 250K. Until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer, signing off.